Hey there, it's 3 o'clock on a Tuesday. We all know what that means. Another riveting episode of Behind Breaking Bond. I have not said that for 3 weeks.
We're back?
We're back.
Really? I thought we were gone.
Well, we were.
I was told we were gone.
You apparently told the world we were canceled.
I was pranked.
Right.
That's my story, and I'm
No.
sticking to it. I was told that, we had creative differences. I was told that you know how they have billing?
Right.
I was told that you wanted your name all in caps. And then
Now-
I was like this little,
No, I was told that you were making these outrageous demands, like you only wanted green M&Ms, and Chandler had to set it with packs of M&Ms and just find the green ones for you.
that was one of the all-time great.
Oh, it was.
I mean, I came up with that, crafted it. I had no idea.
I had seen it. I was still in Ohio for Easter,
Okay.
and because Monday was April the 1st,
Virtual Friday.
and so I saw it on Facebook, and
Were you surprised we were canceled when you saw it?
I'm not, anything you say on April the 1st is not going to surprise me at all. And so I didn't think anything of it. I commented it was because of Andy's outrageous demands. 30 minutes later, I get a call from Lee Meyer, the assistant news director. What is this all about? I'm like, hey, it's April Fool's Day. This is what Andy Kahan does.
I mean, you guys were doing you did a story on the news on April Fool's jokes.
Yeah,
I know,
yes.
and I was expecting, at least we would make that.
And some of the comments, someone said, who do I email? This is outrageous, right?
If the people who were evidently calling your news desk, because even your news desk put a comment on.
Right.
That was a good one you got me. I got a call from one of our state senators. I got that. I'm trying to think of all the other comments. But on a positive note, hey, we know where we stand.
Right. That's right.
That was one of the better things that came out of this.
Last year, April Fool's Day was on Saturday, because of leap year. And I get a call. I hadn't been on social media. I knew nothing. And I get this call from Susan Schiller, who was the news director at the time. What's this about Andy Kahan not being able to talk about defendants? It was pretty good. It was believable.
I was being sued.
Yeah.
By criminal justice reform organizations.
And they had some sort of injunction or
Yes.
something.
It was so good that our CEO, Rania Mankarius, was getting calls from our board. And she said, "You're going to give me a heart attack."
I knew the minute she called and she starts reading this thing. And I said, it's April Fool's Day. This is an April Fool's joke. And she made me call you
Yes.
to make sure. So I call you and then I call her back. And I'm like, it's an April Fool's joke. And she said, well, tell Andy that's not funny.
I thought it was not only that, but the response that I had claiming, oh, your photographer, photojournalist, Darlene.
Right.
Darlene, that evening, she was wanting to know who fooled me, or how did I find out
Right.
that I was.
She believed when you said I was pranked.
Yes, she wanted to know, how did I find out?
You did one years ago. Doug Miller.
Yes, that was.
He was a reporter at 11 at the time, right?
Yep, correct.
What was it you put out
Years
there?
ago, I put that I was under an FBI investigation for illegally obtaining murderabilia by inmates
Right.
who were sending me stuff that I shouldn't have had in my possession.
That's another believable one.
That was so. Doug, God bless him, calls me and he basically goes, "Hey, my desk saw something that you posted, and they want me to do a story. You're under some sort of FBI investigation." And I'm going, "No, how far do I want?"
Right.
I just stopped and I said, "Doug, what's today?" And he pauses and all of a sudden, in the great Doug Miller deadpan voice, he goes, "That's a good one."
Yeah.
I said, "Now, if you still want to do the story,
Right.
I'm open."
So basically, when it's April Fool's Day, April 1st, don't believe what this man
Oh
tells
man, I'm
you.
already plotting and planning
Right.
for next year. It was that good. But like I said, we're untouchable now.
Right. We'll see.
So that'd be funny if it actually.
Right.
Then no one will believe it.
Right. Yeah. If we get canceled, then oh, sure. Well, it's been a while, and of course, we've been looking at some cases. Tell us about some of the things you've kind of been looking at.
So one of the ones we were looking at was a guy that had multiple. I mean, this guy very similar and a little bit of a tease to what we're going to be doing tonight. Multiple domestic violence. He was out on at least 5 different bonds, and he just got sentenced to life in prison for killing his ex-girlfriend. So a lot of these cases that we've been featuring on our Breaking Bond segment are now coming to fruition.
Yeah.
We're getting.
Well, you figure we've been doing this, I want to say almost 4 years now.
Yeah.
We're looking at year 4.
How long did we get sentenced to do this?
There's no parole for us.
Was it a 5?
It was a life sentence. A life sentence.
Sentence with no good time credits on that.
But that is something that you're starting to see because the years have gone by. A lot of these defendants have gone to trial, and the majority of them have been convicted. I mean, have you come across anyone that's been acquitted?
I have a few. There's been a couple people. Some of them were actually convicted in other cases as well. But I would say of the 100 and going close to 200 cases that are on my list on multiple felony bonds and PR bonds, I mean, maybe about 2 were actually found dismissed or
but not like out and out acquitted, where maybe they got convicted of something and they dropped.
Some of them were convicted in other cases. Some of them were dismissed because they couldn't find the witnesses because
right.
These trials are taking forever, to take place.
Yeah.
So every single one that we've done pretty much has been, and I said, I've always said that, no one has ever really argued over the content.
Right. It's all document driven from the public.
Like the message. I get it. But I'll tell you what, the message has proven correctly because our numbers, and I haven't even looked at 24 yet because they're so minuscule.
Yeah.
But if you compare 2022, there was like 50 some odd. And then in 23, we had 10 defendants that met that criteria.
Right.
That's an 80% plummet rate.
I think there's 2 reasons for that. One is even though judges don't like us, they've listened as far as we started to see higher bonds, right? I mean, in most of the cases, we saw higher bonds. The other reason was the change in the law.
So you had 2 things that kind of led. Number one, you had to pass no more PR bonds for defendants on violent crimes. That played a significant role.
Definitely.
And I do think, because we've heard it from former judges, we had a former judge here that was here, and we're going to have him back. That basically, this segment is a discussion point. And it's, sometimes you want to say, well, I never want to end up on a news segment. Yeah, you don't want to end up on one of these segments because it's usually not in a positive light.
Right.
So one of the things we have seen, judges have made a tremendous difference in how they're approaching these cases.
Yes.
But I am seeing, right now on a lot of, not the violent cases, but the property offenders.
Right.
I am seeing a lot of, we just did that story on Aubrey Davis. She had 16 bonds in Harris County, 7 bonds in 3 different counties.
Right.
Finally.
And granted, it was robbery, theft, that sort of thing, but she was allegedly, her alleged violent tendencies were growing.
Yeah, I mean, that's bottom line is property offenders, and I get it. We categorize them as non-violent offenders. They're the ones that, but the reality is property offenders, and some might disagree with me, they actually wreak more havoc on a community.
I think everybody would agree with you.
Because this is their career of choice.
Yes.
Thankfully, most people don't go around killing people.
Right.
Most people don't go around as serial.
The odds are more likely that you're going to be a victim of a burglary, somebody stealing your car, somebody stealing your catalytic converter.
So remember that one we did on the guy with theft of a catalytic converter, Robert James Williams?
Yeah.
And he had 14 prior felony convictions. And we highlighted him for several reasons, because he was given a PR bond for theft of a catalytic converter, which was a pretty big deal in the legislative session, because we passed a law after Harris County Deputy Al Menderes, who was shot and killed trying to prevent a catalytic converter.
His own.
So they enhanced the penalties, yet here was a guy that was caught red-handed, and they gave him a PR bond. And then a couple of weeks later, he's caught again, only this time it was 16 metal pipes. And again, they gave him a PR bond. But if you remember, one of the reasons we did that is one of his conditions of his bond was that he couldn't own, possess, or use a chainsaw, which I'm going,
that was a first, right?
With two things. A, we got to use the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And then I got to say the immortal classic line, if you see him with a chainsaw, let people know about. Now, here's the thing. He's wanted again. He hasn't shown up to court. So,
and that's something, too, that we see a lot, where you've got these defendants who they're out on 6, 8, 10 bonds. And then I think their thought is, well, if I start going back to court, there's going to be hell to pay, so I'm just not going to go.
Yeah, so basically you've got a guy with 14 prior convictions out on multiple personal recognizance, get out of jail free cards that's now wanted. Remember the other guy we did, the auto theft ring, Joe Aguirre, that was stealing cars and trucks from the airport.
Very sophisticated.
That was a huge elaborate. He was on, what did we have? 12 bonds totaling $350,000.
Right.
They kept giving him, and he too. He's gone. So you have all these individuals that we have featured on this show that are now fugitives at large, which puts law enforcement at risk.
And still, to my knowledge, there is no county entity that is keeping track of all of these people that are now wanted felons.
No, and again, Crime Stoppers is here. I've offered to them
many times,
ad nauseum, blue in the face, or whatever. We would love to profile wanted fugitives.
Sure.
We are trying to work out something with TDCJ on wanted fugitives.
That would be good.
So I think we're going to you'll see that by sometime this summer as well. We actually featured 2 individuals who are wanted for tampering, removing their electronic monitoring. And speaking of that, so yesterday I'm looking at someone that was charged with the new felony, removing, not only did they try to remove their ankle monitor, they covered it with aluminum foil to prevent the signal. Okay, that's pretty elaborate. I mean, to me, that tells you that you're probably up to something.
Right, yeah.
If you're trying to cover your ankle monitor with aluminum. So he's charged and taken into custody. Keep in mind, one of his bond conditions was that he had to wear an ankle monitor.
Right.
So now he's charged with tampering. They gave him a $300 bond. So I'm going, okay, wait a second. You're already on bond, required to wear an ankle monitor. You're charged with a felony for trying to tamper with it, and you get a $300 bond. I don't think that was the intent.
And people will say, yes, everyone is innocent until they're proven guilty in a court. There's no doubt about that. Everybody has that right. But there are people, you can look at them in court documents and public record. You can almost guess what they're going to do, right?
Pretty much. So here's a guy I pulled up yesterday. So you got 5 years for robbery. So there's a gap. We like to call them the gap years, 2016 to 2023.
He was in prison.
He's locked up, so he's not committed. So he gets back out, and then in 2023, unlawful possession of a firearm, assault with intent to impede breathing, stealing a car, felony drugs. So he's out on bond on all 4 of those cases. Then he gets picked up again for another felony, and he's back out on bond again. So 5 felonies right after he served a stint for robbery, back out.
Don't you think it's, there's kind of a push to for criminal justice reform? First, it was, misdemeanor bond reform. There are judges do it with felonies, even though no one told them they have to do that. There's no court order, but there's this idea behind this criminal, by redoing it, that everybody can be rehabilitated, or maybe the criminal is really the true victim in this scenario.
You know, I have no problem. I believe in second chances.
Sure.
Where I draw the line is your fourth, fifth, sixth,
Right.
seventh, eighth, ninth, where there's an obvious, consistent pattern.
Yeah.
And we're going to see that tonight. Oh my God.
It's very disturbing. I mean, it really is. How would you, when you look at it compared to, I mean, we've done hundreds of these reports by now. How would you compare tonight's to what we've done in the past?
I've been looking at this case for weeks before we were finally contacted by one of the victim's family members. I've never seen anything like this. I've been trying to put this together for weeks, and I still really can't figure out how any of this could happen. This is one of the most disturbing cases with a lot of different things that are spiraling, including one of the district court judges as well. So if you've never tuned into a Breaking Bond, what you're going to see tonight will absolutely frustrate you, disturb you, and really tick you off.
Yeah. And I think it's kind of, I think also it shows why we keep doing this. You know, I mean, to some people, we might sound like a broken record, but somebody needs to point these things out, because the public needs to be aware of it. The public needs to know what's going on in some of the courtrooms down at the courthouse.
No, this is, like I said, I hope I never see anything like this again. It's that disturbing. And these are the types of cases you eventually see on the newscast because someone ended up paying the price by losing their life.
Right. That's very true. That's very true. So be sure to tune in tonight.
No April Fools.
No, this is real.
It's real. We're back.
Good to be back with you. And hey, thank you all so much for sticking with us and coming back to see us. Again, be sure to watch our Breaking Bond report tonight on Fox 26 News at 9. Be kind to yourself and everyone else.
Take care.
Bye.